Summer is in session at Icon Park. Welcome back to the season 4 finale of Summer Sessions, a Carlton Media pre-season podcast, and we thought we'd finish off with a bang. We had Patrick Cripps to end 2025, and for the second time in Summer Sessions history, we've got the coach joining the show. He's ready for a return to his own oval next week. Vossy, welcome back to the Carlton Media studios, and welcome back to Summer Sessions.
Has this only been the second time?
I mean, we've had about 25 chats since you've got here, but it's 2 podcasts.
But 2 podcasts.
Yes.
So I wasn't aware it was only the second time. So there you go. Thought it might have been more than that.
Is that a bad thing, or is that a good thing?
No.
That's okay.
Mate, whatever you want to make it.
I mean, really. you came back, so that's got to be a good sign.
I'm back. Yes.
Well, you know that the first question doesn't change and hasn't changed, but I want to know if your answer's changed.
Okay.
Go-to karaoke song.
Oh, good question. American Pie.
Yep.
I thought you were going to ask me about whether I put pineapple still on my pizza, but I wasn't sure. That seems to be also a go-to. But
well, you said that, and then I've never asked it again because I was ashamed of you. But no, you said American Pie last time, so that's consistency.
Yeah, well, that's my favourite probably song of all time. So,
but we do have video evidence relatively recently to suggest that you don't mind walking 500 miles and 500 more.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that's a mate of mine. Made the brave move of getting up the front when nobody else was there.
Yep.
So I thought I would
help
champion a friend.
Yep.
And give him the confidence and belief in himself that in fact he knew what he was doing.
And then someone filmed you, of course.
And so I needed to be the second crazy person to be able to stand up to acknowledge the effort that he went to.
Yep.
And I'd say it was quite successful. I would have thought that there was a few people that started to join him on the dance floor.
Perfect.
And so the outcome was achieved.
Job done.
Job done. So,
and we in pre-season, it's all about, role compliance, getting your job done, and that's what you did.
I backed up a mate. I was there for him, even at my own expense of being in social media. I backed him up and went in 100%, as I always do.
I'm sure you weren't surprised that the clip then appeared on social media relatively quickly afterwards.
No, I was sort of surprised about that. But I was also reminded very quickly through my kids, of course, because... they quickly forward me on because I don't follow socials. But that doesn't mean
other than the Carlton FC account.
Other than CFC.
Yeah.
But other than CFC, I will quickly get reminded from my kids if I do anything that might in some way embarrass them.
Yeah.
And I think they went close to that, which is why they just forwarded that to me to ensure that I did nothing else.
No more. Fair enough.
But I had tyranny of distance. That was in South Australia, so it wasn't effectively in Melbourne, so we weren't in the same postcode, so I felt like it was actually okay.
Play on.
To play on, yes.
Wasn't play on.
No.
Well, it's pre-season now. Well, very close to the end of pre-season. Games are approaching. How are you, Coach?
Good.
Yeah.
Haven't lost a game. Feeling fantastic through February.
Yep. Undefeated is always nice.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
So, no, look, really good. It's been a lot to achieve in a short period of time. The task at the start looked quite enormous when you sort of look at the faces alone. And different to when I first arrived, because effectively when I first arrived, players were pretty stable. Coaches changed a bit, clearly, but then everyone else was relatively the same, whereas now we've had new coaches, there's new player cohort that's stepped in. We've had some change amongst some of the back office staff. And so putting that all together and trying to put a program together in a very timely and efficient fashion has been challenging, but somehow we've managed to be able to execute it pretty good.
When you consider all of that, general thoughts, feelings and emotions leading into the 2026 season?
No, really positive. Look, the first thing we needed to shift was the energy. That's the first thing we needed to shift. So the high priority for us, I mean, you heard me speak at the best and fairest. We can either suffer in our disappointment, or we can sort of move past that and start to provide some new energy. So everything has been about shifting that energy. Everything's about being able to probably open the doors and get more feedback from our players. Create more ownership in the way that we were doing things. The lawn camp was a very, very important milestone in our pre-season to. Almost felt like year 8 camp, like coming together for the first time, and didn't know some people who's in the zoo, but being down the lawn, small community, that was just a great week. We had a great week, great night, on the last night. That was a real chance to really sort of bring us all together and sort of start to define the path of what pre-season needed to look like and where we were going. Players have been 100% invested in that whole process. So when you come at the back of pre-season, there's clearly the energy needs to change, but we also need to put in a game style that we can execute, and so we feel like we've been able to do both. Yeah.
If you can take us back to November to now, how have you viewed pre-season on the track?
Look, look. You can come into start of pre-seasons and with an element of freshness. Some parts can be a little bit clunky, like it's like where do things go, and what time do we do things, and maybe a drill's not quite running exactly how you want it to. You envisage it to look something else. Maybe there's a lack of coordination that you have between coaches about understanding who was taking what. We've had none of that. So that's a credit to our people and the organisation of our people, the professionalism of them, and also just the time we've spent to be able to try and get on the same page with one another. So certainly understand that we are by no means the finished product. We get that, but in terms of the ground we've covered, I'm pretty pleased with where we're at right now.
You mentioned, I guess, a shift in energy and the positive energy. A ball hasn't been bounced or kicked or thrown up in anger just yet, but there's already talk about you and your 2026 and what it could represent for you, mate. How are you dealing with all that chatter? I know you've been in it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, when is it not?
Yeah.
So I just sort of like, so to be honest with you, outside of sort of other people talking about it, it's never occupies something in my thoughts. Feel like I'm invested in what we need to be able to do here, being really busy bringing a coaching group together, getting a program together, looking at the way we want to play, making sure the players have total buy-in on that and ownership in on that. So my eyes never really deviate off that, to be fair.
Yeah. What did 2025 teach you?
Chasing excellence. You got to enjoy the journey along the way. And maybe because of the expectations we did have of the year, we didn't enable that as much as what we could have. But certainly encouraged this year and have a curiosity, a possibility about the way things could unfold. We can't really sit here and define exactly what that's going to look like, but be okay with that. That'll take care of itself. But right now, as we're sort of establishing ourselves and we're sort of opening ourselves to new ideas, then we actually have to open ourselves up to, not putting too much limits on where we might finish or what we might do throughout 2026. That's not kicking expectations down the road. It's just making sure you're totally present to where you are and loving turning up every single day, and working with the people we are and also getting better. So there's been a heavy emphasis on that.
You've touched on your best and fairest speech already, and included that was that you mentioned that you let the Carlton supporters down, and that was a heavy weight to bear, I guess. Take us inside those moments and I guess how you're using that leading into 2026 for both yourself and the playing group.
Well, I'm always trying to get better. So, if we just, park players and the whole environment as a coach, I've got great pride in what I do, and I've got high expectations on what I want to be as well. And the reality is that my fundamental job is to create an environment that enables people to be at their best. And when the dust settles and you sort of start sifting through the remains of what the year is, I always believe that as a leader, you start with yourself and where you need to reflect and where you need to change and get better before you start pushing out at anywhere else. So that's the leadership I've been privileged enough to be able to be given, and that's the way I'll always look at it. And then you're about setting the direction. It's like, well, as we absorb that and we start to learn exactly where we fell short, you start to put the lessons in place and you start to rectify what some of those things needed to be. I spoke about one of them. So there's been some players that have obviously clearly spent a bit of time on the CFC website that have added some energy to us. That seem to be getting still continual presence. But it has lifted the mood of the place, and it's lifted the locker room energy, and they've got high hopes on what they can do and how we can play as a team. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that unfolds.
2 words that you coined in that speech, and even a bit before that in the back end of last year were for Carlton. You said that in your press conferences to close out the season. Tangibly, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, like for me, that sits in the background what your purpose is, but having a purpose-based identity rather than performance-based identity effectively. And, that when we come into this club, we have a greater reason why we are here. And so at the real heart of that is that, the monogram on the front is our club. The number on the back might have your name and your family, but we are here first for fundamentally what is on the front. So that real team first mindset, that was really front of mind for me. And then I guess as we engage with our supporters and our members, and as we engage how we want to energise our stadium, we also can't forget that there's a next generation there that is aspirational. And I spoke about this during the year around doing things for that 12-year-old. When you look across the fence and you see jumper number 9 and jumper number 7, and they've got those aspirations. That young kid's got that aspiration to want to wear the navy blue jumper, and we get to model that. So how do we want to model that, and what do they look up to doing? So there were a couple of things that were in mind, and then all those little magic moments that we can't miss. You just got to pay attention to them, because whether that's our privilege of being able to play in Good Friday clash, whether it's an Anzac Day clash that we get to play in, whether it's Carlton versus Collingwood on the biggest stage, we just don't just walk past the moments. You got to celebrate them. Take a moment to absorb it. If you lose, lick your wounds, go again. If you win, celebrate it, and sort of put the flag in the ground as another point of reference for you that you're building your own story. So that was a really big piece within the Best and Fairest speech, was around our purpose, the meaning, something greater than ourselves, and we've just got to remind ourselves through hard times. That's what this is all about.
It's a 162-year story of the Carlton Football Club to date, but does it feel like a little bit like a new club over this off-season, or a new team at least? Yeah,
well, look, I mean, certainly around around downstairs, there's a lot of new faces. So lots of new conversations. I've really sort of enjoyed that, because one of the things I've had to really stay open to is just being curious to all those thoughts about the way people do things. And so we've tried to really, I guess, start with a broad base and then start to think about how do we shape that into our philosophy. It's not my philosophy, like I think there's we get mistaken that the coach, it's his philosophy and that's the only way. It's what we do is we spend a lot of time coming together with the players and with coaches and the broader staff and thinking about our philosophy and what do we want to believe in. So it's not my thing, it's our thing. And I'm massive on that. That's got to be that way, because I find that's how you get your best investment. So the opportunity was, we didn't get what we want, but the opportunity was that we got to, I guess, step back a bit and probably look at what we wanted that base to be and then build it again. So I guess where I'm at it right now, I'm just excited about how we go about executing it. And I said this also in my speech. I'm not so much interested about talking about it. I'm very, very interested on what we do. And, action will always be the way forward. Once we get a clear sight on the goal, we get clear on our expectations of one another and the way that we want to play, it is everything to do about how we then execute and do that under the greatest of pressure.
Tell us about the new recruits at the club, and I mean both on and off the field, because there's been quite a few.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, I don't think I can go over all of them. So I don't think I can go.
It's a half-hour podcast, so yeah.
But yeah, we'll start with the playing group. They've just added some different type person. Probably fair to say some of the extroverts, if you want to call them that.
Do you have some in particular in mind?
Well, I think one that gets left behind a bit is Liam Reedy, to be honest with you. Like he sort of got the chest out and he's punching out 160 in the bench press and sort of impressing everyone, and everyone's trying to chase him and no one can catch him.
Yeah. Can you catch him?
No.
Okay,
no,
just want to put that on record.
I'm failing that at the moment. But it doesn't mean you can't have something to chase, right? Even at my age.
Chasing excellence.
I don't care. I'll still chase him. But I don't know whether I'll catch him. But yeah, so just with that, and then the boys that are obviously joined us that have been well spoken about. They've a lot of boys have spoken about them, so they've added some some real energy to us. And, obviously with the coaching group, it's, it's felt everyone's sitting in a new seat. So there's no one that's sitting there that had their, whatever portfolio they had last year, they're doing the same portfolio. It's completely different. So with that, you have to have some patience and a hell of a lot of conversations to ensure that you're on the same page. But there's a couple of characters amongst those two guys. You might be able to get a couple of them, and there's, maybe you might be able to get on these summer. Well, actually, is this the last one, is it?
We had Will last week,
right? Okay.
2 weeks ago, but yeah, this is the last one. But there'll be many chats throughout the year, I'm sure, on Carlton Media channels.
I'm sure you can get a couple of coaches on there just to be able to loosen the hips a little bit, loosen the shoulders a little bit, and see if they can open up with a few gags.
Well, I want to get philosophical with you.
No, you mean philosophical or serious? No.
Philosophical.
Right, okay.
Can you miss something you never had? Because I think Carlton fans missed Jagger Smith last year. Because when you talk about new recruits, he's one that we're going to go into some fan questions later, and I have to mention him here because there were so many about him, so I'm just going to blanket them all into one.
Yeah.
And he's such a humble young kid, one of the more humble ones you'll meet anywhere in footy. But how's he approaching February for what is his second season, but effectively his first in the AFL?
I'll be vulnerable, right?
Yep.
I only cried twice last year.
Okay.
When Jagger did his ACL,
yep, and
then Harry did his ACL. The only times I actually cried last year, so a little tear in my eye. But no, we're very excited by what he's been able to do, and there's a lot of chatter around it. But look, he hasn't played a game, which is just quite extraordinary, really. But I think also what we do as coaches is we see a lot of evidence throughout pre-season about what he can do and what he can't do, and the reality is he moves in a different way that everybody else does, and so that's exciting to us because it's different to what we have. He's probably impressive in the most around. He is really competitive. He's laser focused in on how he wants to play and what sort of type of footballer he wants to be. And quite naturally, you want to be led by that. So he's certainly, among others, with our 1 to 4 year players, he's been right at the forefront of all that. And despite not playing, he still has a significant say in that. So we're pretty happy that he's at our football club, and we're certainly be very pleased if he's walking away with 250 games under his belt, that's for sure.
Well, like a new recruit is a classic pre-season cliche.
Yeah.
And that goes with, who's set for more midfield time, who's flying,
okay.
who's moving positions, all of that stuff. So, Vossy, the floor's yours for all the pre-season cliches you want to get out now.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't use, we're just happy to get 4 points, can we? Everyone's flying.
Yeah.
Best pre-season we've ever had.
This will be clipped up out of context, I reckon, as well.
That's right. There's a few of them, isn't there? But look, this is the season to sell hope. That's what it is. It is for every single club. You can only measure yourself against yourself though through this period of time, and certainly when you look at pre-seasons, it's stacked up quite well. We still haven't hit the ground playing against anyone at the moment, but certainly happy enough with where we're at. I don't have any other pre-season cliches outside of that. Like what's another?
Oh well, like Zachy obviously mentioned last week that he's moved to the half back line, so that's one that move back behind the ball and positional, all that kind of thing.
All their strengths and like all that sort of stuff.
Plenty of strengths, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. They're all back there somewhere.
What we have tried to do is, that has been at the forefront of our minds is, looking at the strengths of our players and sort of going, well, where are they best? Where do they best suit us based on what we need? Clearly, it's led a lot by our game style, game model, the way we want to play, but it's also hopefully a bit based off the strengths that we feel like we've got. But I think what people can expect, we're going to have a lot more power around the ball, like just not inside, but also outside, and that's what I think people can expect from here.
I very rarely make judgment calls or observations. I just ask questions and then let you do the talking. But I'm gonna be vulnerable.
Right out.
I'm gonna make an observation, and you can tell me whether it's true or not.
Right out.
In a pretty privileged position that I get to watch training and be around the halls of Icon Park. I feel like the main focus this pre-season has been rediscovering the joy in football. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, probably. More bringing it more. It's and it goes back to that core lesson that I think even if you listen to Cripper, he said exactly the same thing. But when you come in, how do you bring the enjoyment? I don't like using the word fun. I think sort of the fun can be.
You said coaches can be fun though.
Used.
Okay.
Right, but I can certainly buy into the enjoyment.
Yeah.
And, along the journey, obviously through humour and, training hard and, because I find enjoyment in the hard stuff personally, that might make me sicker than others. I'm not sure, but
Yes.
but I do think there's enjoyment in training hard.
Yeah.
I do, because I think that's a really core element, how you bring people together. When you can sit, one of the things I miss as a player is when you sit in that circle at the end of the day, you've trained really hard, it's been really hot conditions, you've been pushed to the end, you didn't think you'd get there, you finish the session, you're in that little group that you're actually like stretching together, you're looking across one another, and there's this little silent buzz that sort of sits in the huddle. And that sort of moment of like, hey, we just did something really hard and we actually did that together and we got through it. So I find that as enjoyment, which is not what everyone would actually say. And then, of course, there's the other enjoyment, which is obviously making sure that we can make things light and competitive. And, one thing that males will always enjoy is competing against one another, whether that's ping pong or whether
I was going to ask about the ping pong tournament.
So
did Harry Dean carry on a little bit a few weeks ago?
Oh, I'm not aware of that.
I believe he did.
You might have more intel.
I believe he did.
I
think he was representing the defenders, and he got very excited in a team meeting that he was.
Well, that would be undefender-like, wouldn't it? Because we don't actually really want to see them enjoying too much, do we?
No. You want them as grumpy as possible.
Dour, disciplined, competitive.
On the edge, yeah.
On the edge. Like they could lose the next contest.
Yeah.
Like we need them like that, don't we? We're not enjoying themselves too much.
So he carried on a bit, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Is that bordering on fun? That's why you don't...
But too much fun. Too much fun.
Well, when you say rediscovering joy, how much does a new preferred ice cream flavour factor into that?
Are you talking about my salted caramel? No.
I am. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's inside goss. You shouldn't have that.
But I've got it, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
So that's recent, I guess, epiphany that salted caramel clears cookies and cream. Is that correct?
It's nudged ahead, yes.
Yeah.
And cookies and cream has been... Baskin Robbins is just not a familiar brand in Victoria.
Yeah.
But more a familiar brand in Queensland. Cookies and cream. Like, I remember when I had my birthday, my wife bought me... What's the biggest one that you can actually buy?
Not enough.
Is that 60 litre? Like 60 litres?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I bought, like Christmas, I got 60 litres of cookies and cream. Like, it's unbelievable.
Do you think
I finished it in a week.
Is that maybe why it's second? Because you have had enough?
I think I've OD'd on it. So I do have slightly an obsession on things when I do link into them. So, it's not an everyday thing, but I certainly do favour more the salted caramel now than what I do the cookies and cream.
Well, welcome to the club. Well done for finally salted caramel. Yeah, comfortably.
Beautiful.
There's a Messina.
Well, that wouldn't be normal. We would be abnormal.
It doesn't matter if it's abnormal. It's correct, and that's the main thing. There's a Messina walking distance from Icon Park.
Yes.
Head down to I don't know, might be Western Street and enjoy.
Okay.
You got your phone on you, or you?
No, I don't have my phone.
So no accidental phone calls from any of your players.
No. Was I expecting some today?
Or just Lewis Young.
Oh, right. Okay. Was he trying to be cheeky, was he?
Well, that was it twice in 2 days that he accidentally called you? And
oh, yes. Yeah, no, he did. That was quite humorous, actually, because he was talking about me.
Yes.
So I was listening into the phone call because Siri, is that how you say it?
Yep.
Siri was, he has the voice recognition.
Yep.
And he was talking about me, so it called me.
Well, he stole Jordan Boyd's phone and was trying to say, "Hey Siri."
Right, that's right.
Call
and
coach.
so, but he did, and then
on his own phone.
So the conversation started to. So I normally just hang up in those circumstances, but I thought I'd just give it a little bit of a listen just to make sure that Lewis was saying the right things.
And he was saying all the right things.
And he was saying the right things. So,
and then the next day he was explaining to his teammates what happened.
And then it rang me.
And then he did it again. Yeah.
I would have he could have got himself in a whole lot of trouble.
But he was saying all the right things, so it doesn't matter.
He was saying all the right things.
I know we're strapped for time, so I want to get into some fan questions because they were very keen to find out from the coach of certain things around pre-season or not pre-season, because Kai has asked, what's your favourite TV series at the moment?
I'm on Blacklist at the moment. So that's the one I'm watching and binging at the moment. So I'd be somewhere in season 3 or 4.
Yeah. Rewatch or just first time?
No, this is first time watch. So not bad. It's okay. It's kept me going.
It's not the most endearing review, but it's okay.
No,
does the job.
It does the job.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent. Don't mind it.
The role player of TV shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liv has
Which
asked,
we give status.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Liv's asked who's the coach's pet.
Who is?
Yep.
Oh, anyone that I nominate seems to cop a bit of a hiding. So, because no one's standing out right now, I'm just going to sort of flatline it and sort of plead the fifth and not actually
Classic coach's answer. That's okay.
Right.
From Joel, and you've kind of touched on this, and I think it's probably by virtue of the personnel that's left and come in, will our brand of footy change this season compared to last season?
Well, I think so. Look, I mean, the capacity there is to certainly do it. And I'll be somewhat reserved, but also quite confident that there'll be a fair bit of difference in the way that we go about this year. Yeah.
And the natural follow-on from that, from Shannon, is what can we expect from our forward line in 2026?
Average about 120 points a game. So
someone's
like
clipping that again as well.
Yeah. Harry kicking 110 goals.
Yeah. Perfect.
Look, I think what you're going to see, you're going to definitely see a more dynamic group. What we hope you see is certainly more a diverse range of goal kickers. So, we've got guys that can all hit the scoreboard. So that sort of spreads out the responsibility a fair bit. But I hope more than anything that we talk about enjoyment and fun and bringing complete positive energy. I hope they absolutely lead that. And from what I've seen throughout pre-season, they've led that, but it's also created a little bit of edginess amongst the guys because they're just sort of getting into each other a little bit at the moment. I love it. So it's just been great to watch.
I love this one from Jordan. He said, which player has really improved or stood out with their voice this pre-season?
With their voice?
Yep.
Oh, God, that's a really good one.
Shout out to Jordan.
I think the guys that sit off the half-back line are always really important in that. So Ollie Florent's been quite handy at that. Being able to see the game has been really impressive. If I had to name one, I'd say he's probably it at the moment. Yeah.
Will, this is another pre-season cliche, which I forgot to mention. So,
what's his last name? Hayward.
Well, who could be a surprise selection within the first few rounds? Maybe he's picking for a Supercoach or AFL fantasy team. I'm not sure.
Surprise. Oh, God. They'll all earn their spot.
Perfect answer. No surprises because they would have earned it.
No surprises because they would have earned it.
Yeah. And from Jimmy, I reckon you'll like this one. In 3 words, what does a perfect Carlton game look like?
Tough, powerful, selfless.
Win. Well, that'll happen.
That'll happen.
Yeah. Mate, in terms of the season itself, just give us a bit of, convey your excitement for the year ahead because I think this Cripper kind of mentioned it was a tough year last year for everyone associated with Carlton, supporter base included. What makes you excited for 2026?
Look, I think that the first thing you lean into is complete, the positive energy with the boys. And the way they've gone about pre-season, I'm just really impressed. I really don't feel like we've wasted a session. Doesn't mean we've got it all right. Doesn't mean we have executed it perfect. But the intensity that we've brought to every session has been fantastic. We've spoken about some things we've needed to change in our game style. I definitely think you'll see that. It hasn't hit any competition yet when it comes to competing against other teams, and we'll pick apart what that looks like to find the best version of ourselves. But what I am looking forward to the most, and I'll never get tired of it, is when you can walk into a packed Carlton home game and you can have in excess of 65,000 people that are in the stand, and we can match their energy. And then we are only elevated by even more energy that's given from our supporters. When that comes together, that's the moment I'm looking for. I'm looking for that moment where our boys feed off what our crowd's doing and likewise the other way around. So I'll be ticking that box right throughout the whole year. And I hope that, I don't know how many tickets we get to round 0, but I hope there's as many Carlton people as possibly can fit in that stadium as we can get, because can't wait for it.
Are you calling Fags and requesting the home rooms next week in Brisbane?
Well, it's called Brighton Homes Arena.
It is, but it's not.
But it's not. So, well, they can have the stadium and I'll have the grass. So there you go.
Perfect.
So it's a perfect arrangement. So that's how I'd like it anyway. So it'll be different. I've only been there once, so it'll be different going back out there. But hopefully we can get a little bit of a result just to kick off the year.
See you at Mock Force Oval.
See you then.